This is Julie D., and you're listening to the Nordonia We Need to Talk podcast network, brought to you by NordoniaHills.news, recorded in the Gary Miller studio. Cleveland Sports Podcast starts now.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Cleveland Sports Show. This week just with me today, Darayus. Brady unfortunately couldn't make it here today. He will be with us next week though. I wanted to talk about two major things in the sports world today. One is one last update on the World Cup before its grand finale tomorrow. And I also wanted to talk about some of the NBA season updates in the offseason, more so concerning the Los Angeles Lakers and how Jimmy Butler's future will go with the Timberwolves. But first, without further ado, let's get into World Cup updates. I want to talk about the semifinals that happened this past week. First, we have France, who defeated Belgium 1-0 in St. Petersburg this past week. Samuel Umtiti for France scored a header in the 51st minute off of a corner kick, which eliminated Belgium from the tournament, having France move on to the final. And in the second semifinal, we had England, who unfortunately fell to Croatia 2-1 in extra time. England took a lead off of a free kick in the 5th minute, and they were leading into the half. However, in about the 70th minute, Croatia scored the equalizer. The game eventually had to go into extra time. Then having, in extra time, Mario Mandzukic of Croatia scored to put Croatia in front of England and complete the comeback to eliminate England. But just a few minutes ago, we had the conclusion of the third and fourth place match of the tournament. Belgium and England faced off in their second match of this tournament, and Belgium were able to defeat England 2-0, meaning that Belgium has finished third in the World Cup standings. This is the farthest that they've ever gone. This is the best ranking at the World Cup that they have received. It's another head-scratcher for England. However, it's a bright future that awaits them due to their outstanding performances at the tournament. That leaves us with one last game left for tomorrow in Moscow. On Fox at 11 a.m. tomorrow in our time, France will be taking on Croatia in the World Cup final. This will be France's third World Cup final. They won it in 1998, lost in 2006. This is Croatia's first ever World Cup final. And my predictions for this game is that I think that whoever wins the midfield battle eventually wins the game. Because these two teams are potent in the midfield, and whoever can gain that upper hand as the game goes on will definitely be able to attack, create more chances on goal, and eventually win the game. My predictions are that I think France is the better unit, better cohesive unit. Some of us could argue that, yes, Croatia may have the more talented players, but I think as a team, France is much more well prepared. They're coming off a huge win against Belgium. They've had more rest, they've had more time. They haven't had to go into extra time in any of their matches so far in the knockout round, and I think that will help them progress through and be champions for a second time at a World Cup tournament. So, in conclusion, tomorrow 11 p.m. on Fox. Make sure that you are making plans to see this final. It only happens once every 4 years. We're going to see a new champion tomorrow, and be prepared for a wild celebration. Next, what I wanted to talk about were some of the new updates on the NBA offseason. No big deals have happened in these last few weeks ever since Tony Parker went to the Hornets. LeBron went to the Lakers. We haven't heard any updates on Kawhi Leonard yet. But I wanted to talk about first the Los Angeles Lakers and how they're slightly improving. Of course, we have LeBron James, who just got added few weeks ago. But some other big moves that they made was they added Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee, and Rajon Rondo as well. Now, Lance Stevenson and LeBron James, we all know, have had that rivalry these last few years when LeBron was in Miami and Cleveland and Lance Stevenson was at the Pacers. So one question I have for the audience today is how do you think that maybe these two players were able to set their differences aside and play together? Because now they're in the West. The stakes are a lot higher. I personally think that with now LeBron as the leader of the Lakers, with a young core, with Rajon Rondo, I think that they will be able to set their differences aside because they know that there's a lot more at stake, especially going up against teams like the Warriors and the Rockets, and even to some extent the Oklahoma City Thunder. JaVale McGee, who has played quality minutes, especially in these playoffs for the Warriors, hopefully, and might be able to add a big boost towards the Lakers' center position because he can be backup or even the starter for Brook Lopez in that lineup. Rajon Rondo, who won a championship with the Boston Celtics 10 years ago, has always been such a phenomenal passer, and his vision is just as powerful as LeBron is. So with those two phenomenal passers in the game, the Lakers will be racking up assists in no time as the season goes on. And I think it'll be a big help because now LeBron is going to have a steady point guard with him, and it's going to help the Lakers definitely win a few more games than they did last year. And now the Lakers don't have to rely on Lonzo Ball as much as they did last year because Lonzo Ball really, at the beginning of the season last year, just was very, very timid, could not find a shot. But now with Rondo in the mix, they're going to be able to have some steady consistency and won't have to rely on Lonzo Ball as much as they did. Now, with all of these offseason trades, a lot of us have been asking, well, how is it going to beat the Warriors? And frankly, it's not. Let's be honest here. The Warriors just added DeMarcus Cousins and still have kept their core of their incoming 4 All-Stars. I think the Lakers need one more piece to help them have a chance to beat the Warriors. Of course, when LeBron James is on your team, you're always going to have a chance. There's always that chance. I mean, we saw with the Cavs this past season that you can get to the finals. But I just think that it won't be enough against this Warriors team who just added another All-Star. So their entire lineup in Golden State are All-Stars. So it's basically like the All-Star game going on in Oakland every night. And I don't think that the Lakers, with this as presently constructed, are going to be able to stop the Warriors at this point. I don't even know if they'll be able to stop the Rockets, to be honest with you, after the season that they just came off of. With Chris Paul coming back, James Harden as the reigning MVP, it's going to be a lot harder now in the West to stop those two powerhouse teams. And so enough with the Lakers. I want to move on to talks of Jimmy Butler. What is he going to do? What should he do? We've heard a lot of rumors of Jimmy Butler and Kyrie Irving wanting to team up with each other in New York, possibly. I think this is a very silly idea. One, New York is an irrelevant franchise, and they're not successful anymore. I think what needs to happen is that Jimmy Butler needs to go to the Boston Celtics. One is because they're young. They're a young team who's on the rise. We've heard many people at ESPN say that countless times. They're on the rise. And Kyrie Irving needs to stay with them because he's basically in a perfect scenario. He's the leader of the team. He's the best player on the team, and he is needed for them to be successful because without him, we saw this past season, they weren't able to get to the finals. They were oh so close, but without that one deciding factor in Kyrie Irving, they weren't able to get to the finals. And now with Gordon Hayward back, they're going to be a lot more dangerous. With LeBron gone, there's a lot more openings now in the East for teams like the Raptors, the 76ers, and the Celtics to make their moves and get to the finals. And like I said, Jimmy Butler should definitely go to the Celtics because now you have an all-star backcourt with Kyrie Irving and Jimmy Butler, plus that third all-star in Gordon Hayward, not to mention Al Horford, who had a tremendous postseason and regular season with the Celtics this past year. And if you add Jimmy Butler to the Celtics with Kyrie Irving, I honestly don't see anyone in the East who can defeat them because the 76ers don't have LeBron, and the Raptors are honestly in shambles right now because no one knows what's going on. They just fired their head coach, Dwayne Casey. And speaking of Dwayne Casey and the Pistons, there's a possibility that you can put them up there. I just don't think that they'll be consistent enough to get to the finals. I think they'll make the playoffs for sure, unlike last year, but I just don't think that they will have enough when they come up against teams like even the 76ers and definitely the Celtics if Jimmy Butler comes. So that's my analysis of where he should go and how that's definitely a great move for him and the Celtics, with Kyrie Irving staying there. And the last question I have to ask for us today is, how will his leaving affect the Timberwolves? Honestly, it's not going to affect them as much as you think it is because with Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, they have a young core. Derrick Rose has decided to stay with them. I don't think that they will miss him as much as they do. It's going to be a lot harder to make the playoffs because they are in the West. But the only teams left now in contention in the West are the Rockets, the Lakers, and the Warriors, because the Spurs aren't going to have Kawhi Leonard. It all depends on where Kawhi Leonard goes, if that affects the West, because the Spurs were one of the powerhouses in the West that not a lot of people except the Warriors could get past. But now with Kawhi Leonard definitely leaving San Antonio, it opens a lot more room up in the West for teams like Oklahoma City and Minnesota as well. So with the departure of Jimmy Butler won't hurt the Timberwolves is what I predict. It's going to be a lot, like I said, it's going to be a lot harder for them to make the playoffs. They won't be as potent offensively as they generally are, but I think there's definitely still a chance for them. And that's all that I have today for the Cleveland Sports Show. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Brady will be back with us. And can't wait for our next meeting. World Cup, don't forget, is 11 a.m. tomorrow on Fox. Thank you very much.